with him.
Me, I died for him. Me, I trusted him.
Me, I loved him.
And me, I'm the damn fool that shot him.
There's a million things I haven't done, but just you wait.
What's your name, man?
Alexander Hamilton.
Hello, you're listening to Storytelling Saga, the podcast that shares stories. I'm your host, Allie, and this week I'm discussing Hamilton, music, book, and lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda. This is such a hugely successful musical. It won 11 Tony Awards at the 2016 Tony Awards, and for months and months it was sold out on Broadway. Everyone was raving about it, and I had been wanting to watch it. I finally watched it now on Disney Plus, so happy it's on there. It was recorded in June of 2016, and as I've said when I've been talking about musicals, it just makes me miss seeing live shows, so I miss that so much right now. But oh my god, I could see why everyone was raving about this so much, because it's truly, utterly phenomenal. There's so much heart put into this, in the performances, the emotion of it all, the singing, the choreography. It's truly, truly incredible. Oh my god, it's just wow. And I don't really want to sit here and recap. What I usually been doing when I talk about musicals is recap kind of each song, go through it that way with the plot, but I'm not really going to do that this time because I don't want to mess up kind of even the historical accuracies of it all, since it really is great taking historical events and creating this really entertaining, engaging musical based on one of our founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. And as it's alluded to in the musical, that there isn't much other stories about him as opposed to other founding fathers such as George Washington, so kind of bringing it to, audiences everywhere really, but especially here in the US. And Miranda describes Hamilton as about America then as told by America now, and he got the inspiration for this musical when he read the biography Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. So I did learn a lot from this musical. I didn't really know much about Alexander Hamilton, so I found it really, really interesting because for the most part in general, I'm not so big into history. Growing up, that was always my least favorite subject in school, to be honest, just kind of social studies in general. So I don't want to mess up things with, as I said, actual historical events. But, you get the gist of it with the American Revolution and Battle of Yorktown and with the cabinet meetings and, of course, George Washington and how Alexander Hamilton was the Secretary of Treasury. So then that's how later on he became the one to be on the $10 bill. And I'll be honest, I didn't realize he wasn't president. Again, I feel so dumb to admit, but it's the truth. I didn't realize that. I always, for some reason, had thought he was president, but nope, I was mistaken there. But again, the things that really resonate are kind of, for me, the themes. Every single song is amazing in this. Again, so well performed. There's so much heart into it that just really bleeds through. I got this real sense of community from the cast, too. Everyone is just phenomenal. The ensemble, every single person in this beautiful show. I got so emotional watching it too. I wasn't expecting that. And it's 2.5 hours long, but it really does fly by because each and every song is just really so impactful. And I remember people describing it as, oh, it's just learning about history with a lot of rapping in it, so it's really great. And that doesn't even do it justice describing it that way, because it just, wow. And really you can kind of boil it down to Alexander Hamilton was an orphan and an immigrant, and look at what he was able to accomplish in, sadly, his rather short life. So that's really tragic. I didn't know how he had died either, so that was really devastating too. But it's just great, the themes of how he's young, scrappy, and hungry, I'm not throwing away my shot, and how that comes back then at the end too, and that apparently was something he had purposely done, wanting to throw away his shot. That's crazy that back then they did duels. I mean, what? Goodness, that's crazy. But to start out, though, when we meet our hero, Hamilton, and it is great how, so of course, since this is actual factual events in history, but then making it so engaging and interesting and dramatizing it and putting your own unique spin on it with all of these beautiful songs that he does. Props to Lin-Manuel Miranda, so incredibly talented. I've seen him in other stuff, particularly in Curb Your Enthusiasm. He plays himself, a fictionalized version of himself for a few episodes in, I think it was season 9, and God, I love that show, but not to go off too much on a tangent with Larry David, but oh my God, it's just so funny. But he does a musical, like Larry's musical in that, and it's just fantastic. But so he just seems like such an utterly amazing individual, so talented and so selfless. He does a lot of philanthropic work as well. So he just props to Lin-Manuel Miranda with this talent and this hugely successful musical he created. So again, going back to really Hamilton himself, that he was an orphan. That's really, really tragic. His father had left him and then his mother had passed, and he meets Aaron Burr. So it's great how within this musical, how we have our antagonists, really, our villains. So Aaron Burr is one of them. Another one is Thomas Jefferson, and he's so larger than life in this musical. So it's just really great creating characters based on real people, of course. So, it's just got to kick out of that. And Lafayette, so many of these names in history. It's really great. But again, I love the theme of him being young, scrappy, and hungry, and I'm not throwing away my shot. I love that song. I love every single song, to be honest, in this musical. So again, I don't need to go through every single one. But what truly resonated with me personally was all of the aspects really of his personal life. So we meet the Schuyler sisters, Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy, and how Angelica really, her sister's happiness is most important to her. So that, I love that whole sequence too, when she introduces Hamilton to her sister Eliza, and she says how I'm going to change your life, even though she had a connection with him. So she is putting her own love for him aside so that her own sister could be happy, and then she ends up marrying wealthy because though she has a connection with Hamilton, they're being in a rich family and Hamilton being poor, that she knows that he could make Eliza happy. So that's really sweet though, but it's really tragic because it's clearly like that was the love of her life, and for Hamilton too, that was really perhaps the true love of his life. And I was looking into then, of course, because it's, based on true stuff, then you look up, of course, Hamilton himself and seeing that there was no evidence that he had ever had an affair with Angelica, but, who knows, but so there's just that. And also, him and Eliza actually went on to have 8 children, which, wow. But so in the musical, of course, to go back to, again, so like when they're at war and then when he comes home and then she reveals that she's pregnant. And really, George Washington had sent him home though, because I'm just going to stick with the musical. I don't want to be like, well, what really happened, But so as we see, when he just keeps calling him son, he says, call me son one more time. Like he gets really angry. That really strikes a nerve with him because he's an orphan. And also I like how early on that with Burr, when he meets Aaron Burr and he says, because that comes back into play when he says to smile more, talk less. Don't let people know what you are for or against. And then Hamilton's saying, are you serious? Are you like that really? But then he's saying how that's how you kind of have to, don't let people know what you truly believe in. But when you do stuff like that, because of course, again, he's he really is the main villain, I guess, in this musical, because he ends up assassinating him. And that's great too. It's all revealed right in that opening number too. Alexander Hamilton. God, what too incredible. That song was just really great too, just to kick it off. But when he's saying that, it's one of those things where you can't please, that quote, it's you can please some of the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. So when you end up trying to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. So it's obviously it's bad advice, but again, because he is the villain. But so when he's sent home and then when it's revealed that she's pregnant with their first child, a son that they named Philip, and him being so driven. And again, another theme throughout this with Angelica in particular saying, you strike me as a man who will never be satisfied. I'm a woman who will never be satisfied. So then that comes into play later on too, that he'll never be satisfied. So it's kind of that fire within Hamilton that's driving him, pushing for a better nation, for America, for himself, for his family, for all of America. And how, while we fight for our freedom, now we have to build a better nation. And the parts with King George were so funny too. What a quirky, bizarre human being. Just really interesting with him singing, and it's just wow. And when they show him up close, when he's spitting, like, oh, that's gross. But that reminds me of when I saw Newsies back in 2014. That's when it was finishing up its run on Broadway. We had front row seats right in the middle, right there. And every once in a while you would see the characters spit, the actors spit, and it just reminded me of that. It was just like, oh, we got to project, so you see them spitting. But gosh, and all the bits of humor in this are really great. Even just, what I really love, honestly, that when we learn about historical figures, all we ever learn about really is just how they like in history was what I'm saying, that we only know about what they did in power. And I like learning, in this case, seeing Hamilton in all of his great things he did and all of his faults. So like really humanizing him, because that's, so like things like that we don't learn about in school really, and just little things. I remember there's that one line about, the cat's, like Martha Washington named him after his cat, and she says that's true, just random little bits of things. I find that interesting. And with this musical, there's just, I don't know, you could just feel how much work went into it with every single little thing, between, again, the choreography, just like the way to enhance certain things within the narrative. No moment is wasted, just any little thing to just kind of make it all the more entertaining, just with the letters, like all that stuff. So that too, I didn't know about that, how he had written 51 essays, again, to help our nation. So really, commendable, even though, as we see, that he was, in his personal life, there were cracks there in his character, so to speak. But my God, like all the emotion in it, so well performed again, but it's just really so wonderful. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I mean, my God, what a talent. Amazing. I'm already just I really am gushing, because wow, it's just really incredible. So just such great music. Again, I love the song. I love every song, as I said, too. Satisfied, as I said, and the song with Burr later on, when he's saying how I want to be in the room where it happens. And then in Act 2 also, with the cabinet meeting, it's so great, as if it's a rap. It's okay, who's ready for a cabinet meeting? And then it's the rap battle. And then how we learn that Burr switches parties and going against Hamilton's father-in-law, and the bad stuff, though, with his personal life, when the wife and the sister go off together on vacation, and then he's tempted and he ends up having an affair with that woman, Mariah. And then, like, the husband is blackmailing him, so that's all, like, really devastating. And then he ends up publishing it because he doesn't want to be used against him. And when George Washington retires and then John Adams takes over, and they're saying, well, you'll never be president. And again, with cocky Thomas Jefferson, like, what a, again, larger than life, performed so well, just really fantastic. Oh my God, everyone's so talented in this cast. Oh, and with Madison too, that song What I Miss, all that stuff, like, oh my goodness, it's just really great. And when it's all published and the wife reads the letter, burns the letters, trying to just kind of erase herself from the husband with Hamilton, it's just so devastating, because she's, as depicted in this musical, she's just kind of helpless, and that Angelica, being the strong older sister, really kind of guided her and just gave her this better life, and then how that kind of crumbled their marriage, really, really tragic. Then, of course, the utter devastation when the son, trying to keep honor to his father's name, and then ends up dying in the duel at only 19 years old. Oh my God, I was heartbroken. It was so emotional seeing. That's what's great too, when you see things performed and you're so up close, and since this was filmed, and you get to really see the characters, the actors' faces, and the tears in their eyes. They get so emotional and swept up in it. And I myself was getting choked up. So when the son passes, that's so utterly tragic. That's when they reconnect. They kind of just rekindle their love. So she really never truly stops loving him. That really comes through with the wife, Eliza. And again, with Hamilton, how him being so steadfast and sticking with his beliefs. And then it ends up with him with the duel too, with Burr, when he ends up shooting and killing him and saying that he was going to throw away his shot. So again, how that comes back. And then just the last few moments, him thinking, that's really was depicted well too, just with the person on stage holding the gun before he's about to shoot, and then Hamilton saying how he's going to see his son, his mother. It's just, so devastating. But again, wow, what a truly, just the way everything was depicted, wow, really was utterly amazing. And just me gushing and rambling about it obviously doesn't do it justice, but if you haven't seen this, obviously go watch it, definitely on Disney Plus, or go rewatch it. So this will definitely one I'll have to revisit again at some point, because what a truly fantastic show. But then when he tragically dies too from his gunshot wounds, and then how she explains that she wanted to live another 50 years and wanted to preserve his legacy. So really what this boils down to for me is that as much as it is about young, scrappy, and hungry, not throwing away your shot, all of those great themes in this musical, that determination and being stubborn but staying true to your beliefs and just working hard for a better nation, for preserving the next generations and building a legacy. That's all really great and powerful themes. But also it kind of, for me, just can be summed up as a devoted wife, the love she has for her husband, and how we see it, she was dedicated to him in preserving his legacy. And that's just so heartbreaking. And the final moments of the musical when she gets all choked up. So it's very emotional. I got emotional a lot throughout this musical. And again, just what an utterly incredible performance, start to finish. Just, my goodness, everyone in it does such an amazing job, and it was just fantastic with the election, just like the turn of the century, just all that great stuff, and how, again, America then and how it is now, and how we can still relate to these themes in it that just are so mind-blowing and so just wow, like really transcendent, and what a beautiful musical. So much heart into it again. I mean, I just can't say that enough. So props to Lin-Manuel Miranda and everyone involved in this utterly beautiful, beautiful, wonderful show. And I'm not throwing away my shot. And with that, that's going to conclude this week's episode of Storytelling Saga. You can visit storytellingsaga.com for all places to listen and where to follow on social media, and feel free to send me any questions, comments, or writing prompts by emailing me at storytellingsaga@gmail.com. Next week, and between you and me, something amazing happened, and now I can talk to animals. It's really cool, but totally secret. And you know what? Life's never been the same. I'll be discussing the wild thornberries. Until then, thank you for listening, and remember, write what you love.
Oh, I can't wait to see you again. It's only a matter of time. Will they tell your story? Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?